Hi, Elizabeth. Nice to meet you today here in Matera. Can you tell us something about your experience, recent experience in Umea 2014 as a European Capital of Culture in regarding the communication strategy?
Yeah, I think our year has been full of challenges, and not at least before the year started. So to have a strategy for communication is a platform for everything. Even if the program is not ready, you still have to communicate. We focused on communicating through the giving examples on what was going to happen and to make what you say build up expectations. But still, as long as the content wasn't ready, we had to hold back the communication. But meanwhile, we focused very much on communicating with the citizens locally.
Locally, but also in European vision with other countries?
Yes, we decided to do a European tour with a defined tour out in 7 cities in Europe, together with in collaboration with the embassies and Visit Sweden, this is the national tourism organization, that wanted to highlight Sweden abroad through culture, because tourists are really more and more interested in culture to visit places. We did it also together with the university, and we did it with the Sami organizations, because we are part of Sapmi, and the Sami people is the only indigenous people in the European Union, actually. So we did it together. So the key word for everything to make it happen and to make it go well is to do it together, with as so many as possible.
And together is a key word also for Plovdiv, Renard, also for Matera in first step of dossier for the bid book. So together is a word that link all the ECoC.
Yeah, and we have a lot of common topics experiences to share also. So now when we discussed here yesterday, for example, we said that we would really be better on explaining for the citizens what about the European dimension, why is it so important for the European Commission to appoint two cities every year as European Capital of Culture.
And having a look to Umea recently, what is the main heritage, the capital that you can bring with you and to share with the others according to the last year? Yes.
Yeah. I think it's it's many things, but two things I can say here is one is that we have had so many visitors in Umea from other countries that we didn't have before, and we have reached the goals more than we could expect. Not at least from Italy has people came up to Umea. It's new for us. That's one thing, but something happens with the city and the citizens. Yes, so I think it's the most important thing, that people has been more proud of the city. They have been even more open. I mean, Umea is an open city, but even more than before. So in all means, I think that's the most important thing.
It means that you expect to have effects also for the future, not only for the past.
Yes, exactly. That's the most important thing for the future.
And what about the main evidence at the end of those 2 days? What do you think about the common platform and the opportunity to share video experiences, projects, and regarding your trail?
Yeah, I think this meeting, I think and I hope that the result will be that communication we can establish the network, and we can share experiences and develop the communication to help new European capitals of cultures to be good on communication, and in that way also contribute to more exchange with of culture. Umea is a city to explore because of the dynamic in the city. It's a city full of contrasts, but it's also a city where it's near to everything geographically. So you can, and everything is, you can find everything side by side. You have the opera, and you have the hardcore music scene. You have the museum of one of the greatest in the country for contemporary art, side by side with the Institute of Design and the School of Architecture, and that is typically for Umea. And another thing that is typically is that Umea is a city with the people quite relaxed, I would say, and the artists like to live and stay in Umea because it is so relaxed, and they can do their own artistic work and do it by themselves without checking on everybody else, like it can be perhaps in a bigger city with more competition. So they can, so that's the kind of city it is.
How important is this kind of meeting for you, a meeting between the past, the present and the future ECoC cities?
It's very important for us. However, we are already in the year when we are the European capital of culture, because we feel that we all are solving very similar problems. So it's good to speak about that and maybe speak about some possibilities of doing some informal network or something like that, where we can share our problems and discuss them and so on.
Do you think a common vision of Europe is possible, given how different all the countries are?
On some way not, on some way yes. There are some points in which every city, every country is totally different, but there is also a lot of things where we are similar, like to persuade the community to participate on the project and so on.
And how can that be dealt with in communication terms? What are you doing to involve your citizens and to make the European vision more important?
So we are preparing advertising campaign, and we are talking with media, and we are special program like an invitation program, like a microsite on web and also the social media. So this communication channels, and also we are talking to schools and to seniors group and like this, and it's our communication to community in Pilsen.
And how is the year going? It's been a few months now since your opening ceremony. Have you got any results already?
Just today, our colleagues were presenting to the mayor and to the government of the city the results of the first quarter of the year, which are quite impressive, because most of our shows are sold out, and on the opening we had 25,000 people in the streets. In the Festival of Lights we have 40,000 people in the streets, so we are quite happy with the results of the first quarter of the year.
And how do you think the citizens are feeling this year? Do you think they are also having a positive reaction?
So our headline is Open Up, and we want to open up Pilsen to Europe and open up mind of the citizens of Pilsen. And the Pilsen are changed. now you can see the visitors on the street, tourists, and it's something new for the people in Pilsen. So it's sometimes it is not so good for the people in Pilsen because comfort is a little bit not so good like before the European City of Culture. But I think the feeling is quite good, and everyone is really proud that the Pilsen is capital of culture, not Prague or some other city.
And what other events are coming up for the summer now?
For the summer we will have the big rock festival, Rock for People, and also 9 weeks of the Baroque, which will be about Baroque sites on which the Pilsen region is very proud, and he will try to make them part of the UNESCO heritage as Matera is.
First of all, how important has this meeting been for you for past, present and future ECoC cities?
This is really important to share experience. For instance, it was the first ECoC meeting we made with Charlene. We already made some other ECoC members in Marseille, in Belgium also, but we never be part of the discussion about how to involve, how to improve this communication. And this is really interesting to share experience, to listen a lot and to imagine the future and how to be better and better.
Do you think a united communication strategy would work? Do you think it has its positive aspects?
I'm sure it will and it would have positive aspects, but from some parts it can appear as something very utopical because as we are facing now, it's still difficult to communicate to our own citizens on our own projects. This meeting was very meaningful, and we are now, I think, thinking a lot about how we can implement the idea we had today in our own strategies or our own communication. So yeah, it's going to be very interesting, I think, for the future. And the next meeting will, I hope, they will be very also meaningful for the next ECoC.
And in terms of communication, what do you think has worked and what do you think has not worked so well?
We already spoke about one of our strengths as ECoC and as a communication team. It was about our storytelling, because we really think that we can communicate about real content, artistic content, and about the project, and it's difficult to communicate about without any structural and concrete things to say. So we spoke about communication campaign we developed it before and right now, and all the thing we are also doing on the social networks, and that's for us examples, concrete examples of what we are trying to do to communicate this very difficult project. And
And it's been a few months now since your inaugurational ceremony. How has it been going so far?
No, I think in terms of press coverage, for example, we have very good results, and we are quite happy with it. We already hosted something like 300 journalists, international journalists, including more than 150 during the opening ceremony. So I think it's a good challenge we managed to face. We also have lots of more than 500 papers or reports in international press. We are pretty happy with that, and hope to go on with the international coverage.
And which is really interesting too is that citizens were proud to be part of this party, and it was the best present for us for our work, and everybody was just, wow, okay, this is it. This is the European Capital of Culture, and we are really proud of it also.
What events are coming up for the summer? What can we look forward to?
The summer, I think it's going to be a very interesting season, because we are programming so many different things, as urban art, as a festival of theater creation, music also. So the proposition will be very different, and yeah, we hope that Mons will become as a destination, a summer destination for 2015. It's really our next objective.
And what does it mean to be head of communications? What is your main role?
Well, that's a good question, because it comprises lots of things, ranging from social media to online communication in general, marketing. It's related as well to the way the citizens get to know the program, and many other things that, like the logo, the use of different languages in some of the cities, as is our case, and yeah, many things.
And what do you think of this kind of occasion as a meeting between the past, the present and the future ECoC cities?
What do you think of these kind of events? I think it's great to share information, and not all the issues, all the programs of the ECoCs are the same, but many of them are, and I think it's great to feel and to see what the problems of the other ECoCs are, and to learn from their experiences, to share what it's working and what it's not working, so that we can do a better job in communicating the contents of our ECoC.
Do you think a common European vision is possible in terms of culture?
Well, I think I would answer by saying that the motto of the European Union is in Varietate Concordia. It means that the identity of Europe is this variety and this diversity of cultures. So, yes and no. I mean, this identity of Europe is based on the huge diversity of the different cultures of this continent.
And from your experience, what do you think is the best way to involve the citizens, to involve the city itself?
I think there's no one way. I think there's many. But as Matera is successfully doing, I think one of the best ways is to engage people in making them feel part of the project, making them feel protagonists of the story of their own capital of culture.
And how is the preparation going in San Sebastian?
Well, it's been bumpy, but we've had our issues. I mean, there's elections right now, as it's in Matera, I think. And, well, it raises a few issues, but in general, I think it's great, and I think we'll manage to get a successful ECoC next year.
And what do you think, what advice can you give to Matera to not do? What shouldn't they do? What mistakes have you made that maybe looking back you'd like to change?
I think it's not easy to give that kind of advice to Matera, because each city is a story, and we have our own issues, our own advantages, our own strengths, and our weaknesses. So I wouldn't feel comfortable by saying to Matera, you shouldn't do this, because maybe it's not an issue for them. So.
My name is Jelle Burgheff. I also represent Leeuwarden Friesland 2018, the European Capital of Culture, before the year prior to Matera. And I'm head of European Affairs.
And what does that mean exactly?
That means attending conferences like we see today, and also having a lot of contact with all the European capitals of culture. We form an informal network of European capitals of culture that have organized the event in the past, cities like Liverpool or Stavanger, cities that are the European capital of culture this year, and also the future European capitals of culture. And it's very interesting to see what we can learn from each other. The event that we organize in our European capital of culture year is different in each city if we look at the festivities, at the cultural projects. But apart from that, there are many similarities between the cities. If we look at EU funding, if we look at sponsoring, it's very interesting to see how that has been organized in all the cities, and what we can learn and what we can copy from each other and improve again.
What have you found particularly interesting this morning here?
It's very interesting to see how we all try to deal with communication and the different levels of communication. On the one hand, you have to communicate with the citizens in your city, but at the same time you are a European capital of culture, and how can you implement the European dimension in your communication as well? That's something which is very interesting to see how we all try to do that.
And how have you communicated so far with the people both in your city and with Europe?
Well, actually, we just started our communication because we are a European Capital of Culture in 2018. So for tourists, it's just too soon, and we said we have to start in our own region. Everybody has to know the story and has to be behind it. So this year it will be mainly telling the story, and it's about information and participation.
And what tools, what means of communication are you using?
Well, we recently we started off with a new logo, and we have a new website. We activated social media channels, newsletter, but we also distributed a newspaper to every household in our region. And we made a very nice animation.
And which method do you think has been the most successful?
Well, I think the animation, because we heard that a lot of inhabitants of our region find the bit book very complex to read. It's in English, and it was a bit book written for the jury of European Capital of Culture, and now it means that we have to translate it to a different language so everyone can understand what is going to happen. And I think the animation that we made in the 4 different languages, everyone, if you see this 3-minute movie, everyone understands what's going to happen.
And what are your plans for future communication? Will anything change?
Yes, I think we have to think about how to build up the tension, because this year it will be mainly our own inhabitants in Leeuwarden and Friesland. But we also started preparation with how to deal with incoming tour operators. And if you come further in the process, it should be more visitors communication. So how to attract visitors and inform them about the places that they could stay and what there is to do.
And how is the preparation going in general? Have you already finished everything, or have you got a lot left to do?
We're almost finished. No, not yet. No, if you look at, and it's the same in almost every city, once you win the title, it takes you about a year to put up a complete new organization that's going to carry out the entire event. We have our management team in place now. We have the last person we appointed was the artistic director, Lieven Bertels. Lieven Bertels is the current director of the Sydney Festival in Australia, and he's joining our team in August, but we are already in touch with him through Skype sessions, and he will also visit us in May again. Apart from that, it's important to know that we as an organization ourselves do not organize any events. We have specifically chosen not to do so because the organization that organizes the European Capital of Culture year will not exist in the future anymore. In our case, it will be very likely that our organization will stop in 2019. That also means that all the knowledge that you build up towards that year will disappear again if your organization is simply not there anymore. So that's why we have chosen to work together with as much as possible different groups within the city, cultural operators, museums, theater groups, and we asked them to organize the events. The ideas that we wrote down in our bid book also all come from them. And what we try to do now is make the translation to the events as they were written in the bid book to a complete business plan, because the events that are written in the bid book are just often just a few lines long and doesn't say anything about how you want to finance the event, how you want to attract visitors, what you exactly want to do in detail. And we're now in the phase that we ask all the cultural producers behind the 41 events that we organize to submit a business plan, and based on all these business plans we will start programming the year 2018, and that's something which we will do in the second phase of 2015.
Is there anything that you would advise Matera not to do? Anything that you've done that maybe thinking back would like to change?
Well, I think it should not be an organization that is operating from a very high tower. I think the involvement of the community is very important. So if they don't believe in it, because the visitors that will come here, they will sleep in a hotel, they need a taxi, things like that. And if you don't involve these people, I think it will be very hard to make a success of it. So it should be participation with everyone who is involved in the year 2019.
And lastly, is this your first visit to Matera?
Yes, it is.
And what do you think?
It's a wonderful city. We were amazed. This morning, we arrived yesterday evening at 12 o'clock, and this morning I opened my hotel window and I saw an ancient basilica. So we were very impressed. You were a beautiful city.
Yeah, same counts for me. There are already quite a lot of contacts between Matera and Leeuwarden, thanks to the Dutch embassy in Rome. Dutch embassy in Rome really tries to promote the cooperation between Leeuwarden and Matera. So as soon as Leeuwarden won the title, they immediately approached us. This was still when there were 6 cities, I believe, in the second round in Italy. We already met Matera at several meetings, also in Italy, but it's the first time I'm here in Matera, and I hope to come here many times, and also for the opening in 2019, of course.
What does that mean to be a communications officer for this kind of project?
So basically it is about communicating the project and the various phases and projects with the community, and some are educational projects, others are with communities, and communicating them to the general public.
And how important is this meeting today with past, present and future ECoC cities?
This is a very important meeting because it is focusing on communications, and it is a rare occasion for us communications professionals to be meeting together and discussing our views. While this is a European project, our colleagues from the programs and projects departments tend to meet and discuss the European dimension and European projects. So, whereas communications is the backbone of the project, sometimes it is almost forgotten, and it is very good to discuss each other's challenges, problems, so as not to duplicate on each other's work and focus on maximizing things, basically, and resources.
Do you think a common European vision is possible with such different cities and nations?
I believe that we can get to a common framework, yes. Each city has different goals. Some would like to attract more tourists, whereas in Valletta the case is different because Valletta is already known. But yes, there are things that we can work together on and achieve results.
And what kind of communication strategies are you using or will you be using in the future?
Basically, the strategy for communications in Valletta is being drawn up at the moment. So, as such, it is a little bit difficult for me to share what is happening and what will be happening. I can say that at the moment we are using both Maltese and English in our communications, and we are engaging with different communities and making everyone more aware of the project and of the things that are happening at the moment.
Great. And how is the preparation going?
Preparations are going very well. There are several projects. I believe there are about 40 projects which are happening at the moment, which is very good because we are still 3 years. We have 3 years to go for 2018, when Malta will be European Capital of Culture, Valletta.
And how important is this meeting today, a meeting with ECoC cities from the past, the present and the future?
Много важен е тази среща е много важна за нас, защото ние много от хората за първ път се срещаме лице в лице. Личният контакт е изключително важен, а идеите да работим заедно и да направим мрежа, която расте, е в интерес на всички.
It's extremely important for us to be here today, and then the knowledge that we've shared and the people that we met, most of them we really haven't met personally yet. So establishing those contacts and the network, it's very, very important for us in developing our communication strategy.
Do you think a common European vision is possible with such a range of countries and cultures?
Това е смисъла. Това е смисъла на европейските столици на културата.
That's the whole point of European Capital of Culture.
Защото тази мрежа трябва да расте с всяка година с новите членове, а старите не трябва да се загубват.
Because we have to keep the old, the current and the future members of the European Capital of Culture.
Защото ако ние сме Европейска столица през 2019 година. За нас е много по-важна 2020, как продължаваме да вървим по правилния път, по този път.
We don't end with 2019. We want to continue develop the country and the city and project itself.
2020 е още по-важна за нас.
2020 is even more important for us than 2019.
And what means of communication are you using to involve your citizens?
Because we're the newest member and officially the official appointment, the official documents are released in May 19. So we're just beginning to develop our communication strategy, and we're still thinking of ways to interact with the general public in Bulgaria to explain what European Capital of Culture is and why it's so important for that Plovdiv won that prestigious title.